Hello Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for Fire Force Chapter 277. When we last left our heroes, the doppelganger Kurono kind of asserted his right to exist, as he was the Kurono that the world would recognize. And that only, Nataku and Oguro would actually really notice that anything had changed with Kurono, so why can't he just exist? And then he goes to, abandon Nataku to go find Kurono, but Kurono arrives himself. The two of them fight. Kurono is more than a little put off about how people view him, and he asserts that he is perfectly humane, because everything he does is sanctioned by his corporation, which might be some light ribbing at the concept of the salaryman, as I kind of posited, and then one of the translators kind of went into a good bit more detail on the comments of that video. If you've not read that comment, I highly recommend it. It's really interesting. But yeah, anyway, Kurono is really not happy with this doppelganger, and he is ready to kind of go on the attack against him. That's where we left off, with Chapter 277, Ripoff or Homage. And our picture here is, Goku in what I think is Piccolo's outfit. I'm not really a Dragon Ball guy. I've seen a little bit of Dragon Ball here and there, but I'm not super familiar with it. I think that's Piccolo's outfit. With the caption, "Is there any love behind it?" Which definitely ties in with Ripoff or Homage. Anyway, we have our scan later page, our go support the original release page. Again, go support the original release. And we open basically where we left off. Real versus fake, who will win the Battle of the Kuronos? As the real Kurono just kind of revealed his scythe, as you'll recall. The doppelganger is just laughing. He just goes on. He goes on for a while. Yeah! I want to see your insides. And then he starts doing the, pawn whistling, which I think is just meant to be, censorship. I'm gonna fweet your fweet while you fweeting fweet. And Kurono sort of looks at him, from insane laughter to extreme language. What is your deal? It seemed like you started turning into the captain of the fourth there for a minute, as I kind of called out. Is this seriously the impression people have of me? So that's actually a bit of an interesting thing, though, is that I was kind of under the impression that Pawn's whistling was meant to kind of seem like censorship or seem like extreme language, but not actually be cursing. Whereas here, there's sort of a blending of the two, and my instinct, as is my instinct with every weird thing that happens in Fire Force, is try to tie it in with perception and Adola. I'm not quite sure I can really accomplish that with this. I don't know what the perception would be or anything. Maybe stories censoring, like TV shows. Oh, sorry about that. That's my medicine alarm. I'll worry about that later. Something about TV shows having to censor harsh language to get by things. And as Fire Force sees it more of a story, maybe there's some connection there, but that sounds like a stretch to me, even as I'm saying it. I really don't buy it. Anyway, is this seriously the impression people have of me? And Kurono kind of looks back at Oguro for for an answer to his question, and Oguro just responds, "That's how it goes. When you don't really know a person well, you tend to turn them into an abstract character in the hopes of categorizing and understanding them." And Kurono just sighs. "So you're saying people categorize me as some cardboard cutout slasher? I'm worried about how people see me now. It affects my salary." Though a question I just kind of thought of is, how much do people really know about Kurono? In the general public. We know Company 8 has their thoughts on him, and this might just really be Company 8's view of him. But I can't imagine the rest of the population, the, everyday citizens of Tokyo, sort of can have a positive view of Haijima and also have this kind of view of their employee. That he's just some, cardboard cutout slasher. It's an interesting question I hadn't really thought of before. Anyway, the doppelganger sort of licks his blade all dramatically like he's been doing, and Kurono looks at him. "You don't have to lick your blade every single time." And then the doppelganger goes on the attack. "You and I are the same. The only difference is our viewpoint." And Kurono blocks the doppelganger's attack, and presses, "Oh yeah? You're nothing but scum who bullies the weak. You could say I'm the perception of who you really are." I mean, you could say that, but also that's what doppelgangers are. They're the perception. Or maybe he's saying I'm the perception of reality and not... Maybe the argument there is I am the truth. I'm not people's misunderstandings. I'm their understandings. And I'm like the you... Maybe it's I'm the you beneath this office worker facade, is what he's getting at there. Either way, the doppelganger throws the scythe, Kurono blocks it, and the scythe turns into smoke. And the doppelganger shouts, "That smoke is the blade that'll tear you limb from limb." Though, as we learned last time, just like the doppelganger can control Kurono's smoke, almost certainly Kurono can control the doppelganger's smoke. Or maybe not, as the smoke turns into blades and Kurono has to kind of jump out of the way. He makes it out mostly alright, but we do see some blood starting to drip, worrying Nataku. And Kurono grins, or the doppelganger grins, "I don't give a damn about my position in the company. I don't have any reason to hold back, and that's what makes me strong." And Kurono responds, "Is that right? If you were really that strong, I'd be thinking about throwing away the position with the company and just running away. But you don't seem that strong." Right, because Kurono hates fighting strong people. That's like the one thing he hates doing. And the doppelganger retorts, "Stop acting tough, real me." And Kurono responds, "I'm not acting tough. We do have one thing in common. We both think only of ourselves. But fundamentally, we're completely different." And the doppelganger goes back on the attack with a new scythe it looks like he has the stick part of the scythe, and instead of a blade, he has like this long-nailed hand coming towards Kurono. "Then tell me, how are we so different?" And he kind of strikes Kurono with the smoke hand, and Kurono seems to deflect it with his own smoke powers, and the two of them kind of go at each other again. And Kurono responds, "I may be selfish, but that doesn't mean I fight alone." And the doppelganger responds, "Then that makes you stronger than me?" Is he asking Nataku for help? I mean, that's a choice, given everything Kurono has done. But again, Kurono is a complicated character, to say the least. And, is a lot to dig into. But his relationship with Nataku, I mean. Anyway, Nataku is kind of shocked as we see Kurono be caught in this, like, Venus flytrap of claws that catches him. And Kurono looks at him while he's still kind of trapped. "My strength doesn't come from being some unhinged psycho. I'm a professional company man." So again, he's stressing that sort of salaryman aesthetic. Or a salaryman, like, philosophy, I guess. And the doppelganger just kind of smirks as Kurono turns to Oguro. "Director Oguro, give me the order." And Oguro kind of grins, "Go for it." "Understood." And Kurono just disintegrates this thing, turning it all back into smoke, shocking the doppelganger. And then the smoke then comes for the doppelganger, slashes him. The doppelganger gets out of the way, but Kurono is right there, ready for the counterattack, and whacks him with something made out of smoke. I can't quite tell what that is. The doppelganger hits the wall, and the smoke, I think, maybe recedes back towards Kurono. And Kurono looms over the doppelganger, and the doppelganger just kind of grins. And we see what's actually going on is that Kurono has created these like smoke dragons. And they're just fucking cool. They are just fucking cool. That's our thumbnail right there. I have, more than my fair share of problems with Kurono, but God, that's a cool ability. And Kurono just sort of turns to the doppelganger. We see, though, the whites of his eyes have blackened out. What exactly that means? Is it an intensity thing, or more weird Fire Force eye things? We haven't seen those in a while, honestly. I don't really know. Either way, Kurono then just says, "I'm able to fight because I can push the responsibility onto my boss." I mean, yeah, I guess. And the doppelganger just shouts, "You can't do anything without the say-so of your boss? How about I free you from that chained way of living?" And Kurono just kind of quietly responds, "You're trying so desperately to copy and replace me, but..." And then he just kind of pierces him. "Do you even like being me?" And that kind of stuns the doppelganger. And he just kind of retorts, as if, I just want the perks of being you. And then he sort of is whacked by the dragons. I think killed right there. Leaving only, the smoke that remains, paired with the shadow of Kurono's legs, turns into Lord Death's mask from Soul Eater. Which is a nice touch. Slightly on the nose, but a nice touch. And Kurono, to the corpse of the doppelganger, I could never allow someone to replace me just because they wanted my perks or achievements. The only reason you wanted to become me was because you wanted something out of it. If there had been some love behind it, it would have been fine. God, that's a thing to say. That's a thing to put in Kurono's mouth. Good lord, if there had been some love behind torturing children, it'd have been fine. I mean, again, there's just a lot in Kurono that's just really kind of uncomfortable. Either way, with that done, Nataku runs up, Kurono-san, and Kurono turns back to look at him. And there's just this moment as the two of them look at each other, and Nataku sighs, thank goodness, it's the real you. He's about to get smacked. Yeah, not smacked, but gets punched in the head. And Kurono smiles. The only person that's going to be bullying you from now on is me. And Nataku's just kind of silent for a sec. And then they look up at the eye dome that's still there. Assuming the world's still around anyway. You can't forgive a loveless imitation. In a world of true despair, can there be any false hope? To be continued in chapter 278, Setting Off. Okay. What the fuck, Kurono? I'm looking at this phrase. If there had been some love behind it, it would have been fine. There is just so much going on there. Kurono's just so fucking weird. He's just so fucking weird. God, what even is this man? And the real thing about Kurono is that I'm never quite sure how I'm supposed to view him. Right? I'm trying to think of other kind of abusive characters. And you've been watching the anime for My Hero, specifically what it's been doing with Endeavor. And it's really clear how you're supposed to feel. I think it's clear how you're kind of supposed to feel about Endeavor. The sense that, there is no real forgiveness to be had for the shit Endeavor pulled. But you kind of feel for him as he is, trying to do better. And as he realizes in the latest episode, the only way he can do better is by, leaving his family's life. Sorry for the My Hero spoilers if anyone is concerned about that. I only realized just now that I maybe should have put a spoiler warning in there before I said all that. My point being that we easily understand Endeavor's past actions is bad, and the only reason we can kind of see Endeavor as maybe good is because he's clearly trying to change starting around season 4-ish. That, and there's that Hawks bit at the end of season 4 about Endeavor being the only one pushing against All Might's complacency. But I'm not going to go too deep into MHA, because I could talk about that for a while if I was caught up with the manga, which I'm not. Either way, it's not super complicated how we're supposed to view Endeavor. It handles it in a nice, complicated, emotionally mature way, but when you get down to how you're supposed to feel about Endeavor, it's not that complicated. Or it's not that, that's the complete wrong word choice altogether. It's clear what you're supposed to be thinking, and it's, he did bad, but is trying to do good. I feel like I went off on a bit of a tangent there. Comparing that to another abusing children character, like Kurono, who, is not that, let's say. He is perhaps the opposite of that. He is all for torturing children, and the child he is torturing is all for that torture. It's weird, and it is uncomfortable. I really don't know. So let's put all of that to where I've kind of stashed that line of thinking about 3 years ago when we finished Haijima, and come back to what the chapter does really well. And the chapter is a really fun fight. Once the fighting gets going, it only goes on for a few pages, but it's just a lot of fun. I love the dragons. I love that kind of, continuing sort of parody of the office worker. He can do whatever he wants because none of it is his fault. It's the boss's fault. He may have to follow Oguro's orders, but if he does, he can do whatever he wants within those orders. And yeah, there's some good shit here. There's just some also really, really uncomfortable shit, which kind of is par for the course with Nataku. Kurono, I mean, Nataku as well, but Kurono largely. One thing, though, that perhaps I could have commented on like 6 months ago, but this last page, looking up at the eye, made me think about, while I was kind of skimming through these last few pages, seeing Kurono and Nataku, and I'm not sure this is going to build anything that I haven't already said, but the fact that Kurono and Nataku have such clearly, like, you know, stylized eyes, compared to the hyper-realism of the eye dome, definitely, like, adds into this sense of the world as a story being viewed. And the eye dome maybe represents the viewer, possibly? That might be a stretch, because we could see things the eye dome couldn't see, like the fight with Dragon. But there's definitely something about the eye dome's hyper-realism in the design of its eye that I think is going to be important at some point thematically. But that's not really the point of this chapter. That's just kind of what I suddenly thought of after 6 months of seeing that thing. But yeah, this chapter is... It's a lot. It's a lot. Kurono chapters are always a lot, and I'm not exactly unhappy. It's been like 2 years, 2.5-ish years since we've had one. But yeah, if you can stomach a Kurono chapter, which is admittedly a pretty big if, there's a lot to like here. The fight is fun. It ends nicely, I guess, as well as any Kurono-Nataku dynamic can end. It ends nicely-ish, I guess. Again, it's weird, it's Kurono, you know that when you get in. But yeah, that's kind of all I have to say for this chapter. Hope you all enjoyed the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe, you know, do whatever makes you happy, you know? And remember, your life is your own, okay? Bye!